take the capacitor and stick it in there and glue it in. I got the Kapton tape for the light here. The other thing I'm going to get is a little bit of double-sided sticky tape just to make sure it's stuck down. The thing I've found, because of the magnet wire being stiff, is it's all got a mind of its own. Anyway, so next step is let's put this Kapton, next step, let's solder the board in so that it's in properly. Make sure everything's where I want it. Now to do that, a little bit of flux. And just apply it there and there. That's all you need. Oh, leave my flux open because I'm going to want to tin my iron as it warms up. Get some solder in. Make sure the board's in place, and get my wonderful skewer here. Just push the motor mount down. Push the motor mount down. Sure everything's in. Solder on the tip. Little flux. Clean it. That'll be good. A little bit more solder there, because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take the point of my skewer, hold the motor mount down, get some solder on the end. That's all I want to do. Solder on the end. Hold the motor mount down. There we go. Solder. We're done. So now you can see how it's soldered on there. Now we're just going to get some more of this here double-sided tape. Get a little bit off the back. Find out where it is. There it is. Cut off a little strip of it. And put it on the back of this guy. There we go. And I'm going to have the top of the wires going up, so put that like that. That should just leave the double-sided tape on. And now I can push this guy into there, like that. There, now it's held in. I mean, it's not like it's a big, hard, permanent job, but it's there. And nothing's touching anywhere. Now I'm going to take these here speaker wires and just make sure they're inboard, so there's no problem with them. Okay, well, very good. This here wire for the capacitor is a little bit long. I could resolder, but instead of doing that, I'm just going to do a little curl and fold there, and do the same thing on this side. Just enough to take up the slack. I'm going to let the wire just lay on top of the board. This is just one big open gap. I know you can't really see there, you can see a little bit better. Now, last thing I'm going to do is take some double-sided tape for a little square. We'll go right on top of whatever that IC is there. And then we'll take the find these tweezers, top off. Now this is all, of course, it's just stuck to Kapton tape, so what's the worst thing that happens? I have to take it off at some point. Then spread these wires apart a little bit on the okay, I just want to get the LED to sit right there. And then I'm going to put one wire there, the other wire there for the capacitor. So you can now see I got a capacitor wire, an LED, and those are all stuck on there. That gets bent there, that gets bent around that way. And if we look, everything looks good. Now, I'm going to go off and test this on the layout by putting the rear truck in for power pickup. And let's see, in order to do that, it just needs to go in, but I notice there's a little bit of a bend on this guy. So we'll straighten that out. Just need to go pretty much straight up. Do not put the front truck on. So we'll go ahead and put the rear truck on. There. Everything's tucked in, and off we go. Okay, we're back here at the layout. Now, you may have heard me say don't put the front truck on. The reason you don't want to put the front truck on is because if it's on, then the issue you're going to have is you have to take it off again in order to put the body on in the front coupler. So let's put power to the track. Okay, you may be able to hear that. You can see the front lights on. And if I reverse, front power is not quite on. It's on in... Digitrax has this funny mode for power where you can have it partially on, partially off. Let's see, so now I should have track power, and that's forward, and that's reverse. So you can see how the little light goes on for reverse. Forward light, reverse light, forward light, reverse light. And on. Alright, we're back again after verifying that everything's working. So the next step here is reassembly, and that can take a few minutes or it can take longer. It depends how successful I am with the front coupler, which has been my bugaboo. Anyway, all we need for this now is a couple of last things to put on. As I said, in order to do this, I route these wires so that they're nice and flat coming across the top here. So when I put this piece on, the wire isn't sticking up doing weird stuff. And right now it's sticking up a bit. Okay, so that should all be okay now. Should be able to take this and put it in. There's a couple of little pins that it needs to fit in there. They're in there. Okay, so that's how it should fit in. And as you can see here, the wires are coming out. You may not be able to see. If I put them on top here, there wouldn't be enough clearance, so they kind of have to snake through. Everything else seems fine. This last little piece for the light goes, and the coupler goes on the front, just snaps into some clips like that's too high, like that and that. Okay, so it is now ready to go back into the shell. So we'll carefully, just looking at that, yeah, make sure that LED is where I want it. And into the shell, and it fits in. And then as you get close to the front, you need to give it a little bit of a kind of a push up in there to get it all in, because it pushes back a little. Yep, it's in nice and firm. I can't see any like the little bar here is right where it should be. Now the other thing I know from experience is if I just try and put the coupler in as it is, it sticks out a little too far and I get a little bit of interference. So I need to do some filing on that. In order to do that, I need to take the coupler off. Boink. Need to take the little copper piece out, and then I'm going to go off and do some filing. Okay, I've been off filing this, and it'll be hard to see, but I decreased the diameter here a little bit. I filed some off of the inside of the posts and around here. The reason I did, if you look really close on this, with the size of speaker I have, there's a little bit of bulge there because of the speaker itself. That pushes the whole thing forward a millimeter or whatever, and when you do that, and that's just because of the speaker I got. If you get one a millimeter narrow, thinner, or you mill out a millimeter more, then you wouldn't have a problem. But with what I have, if I were to leave it that way, then when I put this in, the coupler really gets jammed in, and when it gets jammed in like that, it doesn't move at all. And it's really hard to get it in. So the next step is to get this coupler assembly in. And this has always been something line up, like, okay, that's backwards, it's got to go that way. I have a special pair of tweezers that I use from Microtrains, KD. They're designed to hold couplers with trip pins. These don't have trip pins, but they still hold the couplers quite well. I have to angle it this way for everything to kind of work. I'll do a quick test fit and make sure the coupler slides on okay. Now when I go to slide this guy on, but anyway, it's now in there. It moves back and forth. It opens and closes. It does everything it should do. And now all we have left is put the front truck on. There's a little arrow here, points to the front. So I can just drop that in and click, and it goes. Double check. Yeah, I filed enough to get rid of potential stuff there. So that guy looks all ready to go now. Now off to do some testing. Alright, let's see what happens now. Power plus. Okay, we got sound. And you can't tell, but there's Oh, there is a little bit of light there. If I go to forward, no, no light. Okay. Let's make sure light is on. Go forward and accelerate. There it goes. Reverse. Reverse. Be quite quick. Okay, so this engine now works fine. I need to get it onto my test track where I have a similar one. I gotta do some speed matching, make sure everything's okay. I gotta set up my acceleration and deceleration and start voltage. Notice this one needs some help on that. And we're off to do that next.